In the heart of the African kingdom of Embi, something of great importance was about to unfold. Queen Zahori, who ruled the kingdom with unmatched strength and wisdom, found herself troubled by a deep, sorrowful emptiness. For days, she carried a heavy burden in her heart, until one fateful night, she cried out in despair, "I've had enough." Her voice echoed through the palace halls. The next morning, her town crier rang his bell, calling all the villagers to the town square. As the people gathered, a sense of curiosity and unease filled the air. Queen Zahori emerged, her towering figure commanding attention. "I have a challenge for you," she announced. "I seek someone who can make me happy. Anyone who can satisfy me will be rewarded with a large bag of gold, a beautiful piece of land, and a special place in the palace. Who will take on this challenge?" The villagers exchanged nervous glances, wondering who would be brave enough to face the queen's challenge. Though Queen Zahori ruled with unparalleled strength and authority, she carried a secret sadness within her. For many years, no man had been able to bring her the happiness she so desperately sought. In her bedroom, despite the wealth, the power, and the adoration of her people, she remained unfulfilled. The kingdom buzzed with rumors as word of her challenge spread. Strong men, mighty warriors, and ambitious suitors gathered from far and wide, each eager to take on the queen's test. Galani, the fearless hunter, puffed out his chest with pride. "I am the best," he proclaimed. "I will surely please the queen." Sor, the wise elder, gave a knowing smile. "Experience is the key," he said. "I know the secrets to making the queen smile." Tendai, the fearless warrior, flexed his muscles. "Strength and bravery will win her heart," he declared. And then there was Lean, the village's charming playboy, who whispered to his friends, "I have secrets that will surprise the queen." The villagers, intrigued and excited, began placing bets on who would succeed in the challenge. The sun rose over the kingdom, casting a golden glow over the day that would determine who would fulfill the queen's wish. At the palace gates, the villagers gathered, buzzing with anticipation. They wondered, who will satisfy the queen? Queen Zahori's first contestant, Lean, the renowned playboy, swaggered into the palace with confidence. Known for his many conquests, Lean was sure of his abilities. Whispers spread through the crowd, he had pleased countless women, and his charm was irresistible. However, when he entered the queen's chambers, it was not long before the sounds of panic echoed from within. "Help! Help!" Lean cried as he bolted from the palace, his face pale with fear. Queen Zahori's voice rang out, "You may have conquered the village girls, but you cannot satisfy a queen." The villagers were shocked. Some, who had once swooned over Lean's charms, now stood in disbelief. The whispers turned into gasps, and the crowd murmured with surprise. Queen Zahori's voice thundered, "No more children. I need a real man." At her command, many of the villagers, soldiers, and elders retreated, knowing they were no match for the queen's formidable presence. Only 3 strong, muscular men remained, determined to take on the challenge. Galani, the fearless hunter, stepped forward. The real test had begun. His chiseled physique and towering height immediately commanded attention as Galani, the fearless hunter, stepped forward. His piercing brown eyes locked onto Queen Zahori, exuding unwavering confidence. "I, Galani, have conquered the deadliest beasts of the savannah, and I will conquer you, your majesty," he declared boldly. Next, Sor, the wise elder, followed. His 67 years had etched lines of wisdom into his tall, muscular frame, his deep, soothing voice resonating with authority. "I, Sor, have lived for 68 years. Experience is the best teacher, your highness," he said, his calm demeanor offering a stark contrast to the younger contestants. Then came Tendai, the unstoppable warrior. His broad shoulders and imposing figure radiated power, and his deep, rumbling voice sent shivers through the crowd. "I, Tendai, have fought battles and emerged victorious. This battle between me and you, your majesty, I shall not lose, he proclaimed, his confidence unshakable. Queen Zahori, impressed by the bravery of the trio, summoned Galani first. Galani, come with me, she ordered. The villagers watched with bated breath, exchanging nervous glances. Galani, certain of his success, followed the queen into the palace. Moments later, a loud scream pierced the air. Help! Help! The villagers rushed to the palace entrance, concern etched across their faces. Galani burst through a window, his face twisted in panic. He was running for his life. Someone exclaimed, he's running for his life. The villagers watched in stunned silence. Even Galani, the great hunter, had failed to satisfy the queen. Queen Zahori stepped out, her expression stern. It seems Galani couldn't handle the challenge, she said, her voice cutting through the whispers of the crowd. The villagers murmured, astonished by Galani's sudden retreat. Next, Queen Zahori summoned Tendai. With determination etched on his face, the mighty warrior strode into the palace. Minutes passed, but no word came. Then, the palace guards emerged, carrying Tendai's limp body. He had fainted. Gasps filled the air. Another casualty, someone whispered. The villagers looked on, worried and confused. Had Tendai been overwhelmed by the queen's powerful demands? The murmurs spread like wildfire. With Tendai's fate sealed, all eyes turned to Sor, the last remaining contestant. Will Sor fare better? The villagers wondered. Sor's determination hardened. I won't fail, he vowed silently, his eyes gleaming with self-assurance. Queen Zahori's voice echoed through the palace. Bring Sor to me, she commanded. With a deep smile and unwavering confidence, Sor walked forward. He knew his experience would not fail him, and he had taken precautions. He had performed secret rituals, spiritual practices that he believed would give him an edge. The spirits, he thought, would guide him to victory. I've prepared for this moment, Sor whispered to himself, his voice laced with mystic assurance. He knew that his experience and the power of the spirits would ensure success. Unseen by the villagers, Sor had invoked ancient spirits, their energy flowing through him, amplifying his strength and endurance to levels that no man could reach alone. As Sor entered Queen Zahori's chambers, the air seemed to thicken, charged with an energy that the villagers could not sense. But inside, the real battle was about to begin. The air inside the queen's chambers thickened with anticipation as Sor entered, his confidence radiating through the room. Queen Zahori, intrigued by his calm assurance, couldn't know that within him resided the power of more than 10 men combined. As the door to her chambers closed behind them, an aura of mystery enveloped both Sor and the queen, and the villagers waited outside in eager suspense. Hours passed. The sun began to set, and the villagers' anticipation shifted to concern. Has the queen forgotten us? They whispered among themselves, growing uneasy with each passing minute. Just then, the palace guards emerged, carrying Sor's lifeless body. Gasps filled the air, followed by murmurs of disbelief. Sor, the wise elder, the man who had declared himself the best, had failed. He had lost not only the challenge but his life as well. The villagers' curiosity turned to horror. Sor's confidence had not been enough to satisfy the queen. He had been no match for her insatiable desires, and now all three contestants, Galani, Tendai, and Sor, had been eliminated. Queen Zahori appeared in the palace doorway, her expression unreadable, her frustration palpable. It seems none can satisfy my needs, she declared, her voice cold with anger. Without another word, she stormed back into the palace, her frustration echoing through the corridors. The villagers, terrified, began to return to their homes. If the queen is angry, we're all in trouble, they murmured. They knew well that when Queen Zahori was displeased, the consequences for the entire kingdom were severe. Her legendary temper left no one unscathed. Inside the palace, Queen Zahori slammed her door shut, her anger boiling over. She collapsed onto her bed, consumed by disappointment and frustration. Why can't anyone satisfy me, she thought, her mind swirling with doubts. Am I cursed? Is my desire too great? Self-doubt and fury took hold of her, and the kingdom trembled in anticipation of what might come next. As night fell, the villagers huddled in their homes, dreading the unknown. Families whispered nervously, knowing that when Queen Zahori's temper was roused, no one was safe. The atmosphere in the kingdom grew heavy with fear. Meanwhile, inside the queen's chambers, darkness enveloped the room as she slept. Suddenly, a strange figure appeared, leaping through the window. Without question, Queen Zahori allowed the figure to approach, her body now hungry for satisfaction. She didn't care who or what it was. For the first time in years, she felt true pleasure and fulfillment. The stranger, an immense snake, coiled around her, its presence overwhelming her senses. The queen, lost in her desire, felt a deep, long-suppressed satisfaction. She didn't stir, didn't question the being's presence. After hours of bliss, the mysterious figure vanished as quickly as it had arrived, leaving the queen panting with longing. She reached for the lights, her voice barely a whisper. "Who are you, wonderful stranger?" she called out, scanning the now empty room. But there was no answer. Her eyes searched the shadows, and her heart raced with disappointment. "How could you leave without a word?" she cried, her voice trembling with desire. Despite the stranger's sudden disappearance, Queen Zahori was left with an unshakable longing. "Return to me," she whispered into the silence, desperate for more. Her mind swirled with memories of their encounter. Who was he? Or was it a dream, she wondered, but the sensations were too real to deny. "No, I felt that," she screamed, desperate to relive the pleasure. The next day, the villagers of Embi were filled with dread. Word spread quickly, "What will the queen do to us now?" The kingdom was gripped with fear, uncertain of what Queen Zahori's next move would be, and whether the mysterious stranger's return would change the fate of the kingdom forever. The next day, to the surprise of the villagers, nothing bad happened. No one came to punish them, and the queen did not display the wrath they had feared. Instead, they whispered to one another, wondering why she seemed so peaceful. The truth was, Queen Zahori was happier than she had been in years, and no one knew why. She was in her room, eating breakfast with a smile on her face, lost in thought. Who was the mysterious figure who had made her feel so special? Would he return tonight? Her maid, noticing the change in the queen's mood, remarked, "You look happy today, Your Majesty." The queen glanced out the window, her mind still on the enigmatic stranger. "Yeah, I am," she responded softly, her heart full. The villagers continued to gossip among themselves, uncertain if the queen had truly forgiven them. Is the queen not angry anymore? Is she planning something? They wondered. But they could not have known the truth, that something magical and mysterious was happening behind the palace doors. As night fell, the mysterious figure returned once again. The queen's heart skipped a beat as she felt the gentle touch she had come to crave. "Oh, you're back," she whispered, filled with joy. The magical nights continued, leaving her fulfilled in a way no one else ever had. Each time she tried to catch a glimpse of his face, he vanished before she could. She would turn on the lights, but he'd already fled out the window. Confused but not disheartened, the queen asked, "Why do you keep disappearing?" But as the days went by, she found that it didn't matter. She was happy, and that was all she cared about. Weeks passed, and the mysterious figure continued to visit her. The queen eagerly awaited each night, her heart racing in anticipation. "Who are you? Why don't you want to show me your face?" she would ask. His only response was a soft, knowing smile, and sweet words that comforted her in the darkness. "I think I'm in love," the queen whispered one night, her heart overflowing with emotion. The figure just smiled, disappearing once more into the shadows. The next day, the change in Queen Zahori was noticeable to all. Her smile seemed brighter, her laughter filled the halls of the palace, and her happiness radiated outwards. "The queen is so happy, like she hasn't been in years," the villagers exclaimed in surprise. Then something truly astonishing happened. The queen began to sing, her voice filled with joy and love. I'm in love, my heart beats for one alone, and makes my heart feel home," she sang, her voice echoing through the palace. The villagers stood in shock. This was a side of Queen Zahori they had never seen before. She had always been a fierce and commanding ruler, not someone who openly showed love or tenderness. But now, as they listened to her song, they couldn't help but tap their feet to the rhythm. "We've been saved," they cheered, knowing that the queen's anger had been replaced by love and contentment. The queen's maids whispered among themselves, wondering who could have captured the queen's heart. But the queen, lost in the joy of her secret companion, continued to sing, her voice rising in a triumphant chorus of happiness. I'm in love, I'm in love." Queen Zahori continued to be content with her secret friend for many weeks. But soon, a new and unexpected development occurred. She discovered that she was pregnant. The news shocked her. She was going to be a mother, but who was the father of her child? At first, she had not cared to know the stranger's name or face, but now she felt a deep curiosity. "Who is the father of my baby?" she wondered, her thoughts clouded with both excitement and confusion. The mysterious figure stood before her, his confident smile ever present. The queen's heart raced as she tried to hide her surprise. "How did you get past the traps?" she asked, unable to conceal her curiosity. The figure just smiled, his eyes twinkling in the dim light. "I've seen many things," he replied softly, his voice calm and assured. "Your kingdom's traps are no match for me." The queen was taken aback. She had expected the traps to succeed, but it seemed the mysterious man was no ordinary person. He had outsmarted them all. "I thought I could catch you," Queen Zahori said, her voice tinged with both awe and frustration. "But you always slip away." The man's smile deepened. "I've never been one to stay in one place for long," he murmured, moving closer to the queen. She felt the warmth of his presence as he drew near, and for a moment, she forgot all her worries. His magnetic pull was irresistible, and she couldn't help but surrender to the calm he brought. As they spent the night together, the queen's thoughts were filled with questions, but she pushed them aside. Tonight, all that mattered was the connection they shared. The next day, however, her curiosity grew stronger. She still couldn't understand why he was so elusive. Was he afraid of being discovered? Or was there something more to his mysterious nature that she hadn't yet understood? Determined to learn the truth, Queen Zahori decided to confront him. "Why won't you show me your face?" she asked one night, her voice soft but insistent. "Why do you hide from me?" The figure's expression grew somber, and he stepped back slightly, as if unsure how to respond. "There are things you don't know about me, things that are better left hidden," he said quietly. The queen's frustration grew. She needed to know. "Please, just show me. I've waited long enough," she begged, her voice trembling with emotion. For the first time, the mysterious man hesitated. His eyes met hers, a silent conflict brewing within them. Finally, after a long pause, he spoke. "If I show you my face, you may regret it," he warned. But Queen Zahori was resolute. "I don't care. I need to know who you are." The figure took a deep breath, and with a sudden movement, he stepped into the light. As he revealed his face, the queen gasped. What she saw before her was not a man at all, but a creature beyond her comprehension. His features were not human, his eyes gleaming with an otherworldly glow. The queen stood frozen, unsure of what to make of this revelation. She had never seen anything like it. Yet, despite the shock, a sense of understanding washed over her. The connection they shared was still there, stronger than ever, and it was not what she had imagined it to be. "I am not what you think," the mysterious figure said softly, his voice laced with sorrow. "But I will always be here when you need me." Queen Zahori, though shaken, felt a sense of calm. In the end, it didn't matter what he was. What mattered was the happiness he had brought her. She looked into his eyes, her heart still filled with love, and whispered, "I don't care who or what you are. I love you, just as you are." The figure smiled, his face softening with tenderness. "And I love you, Your Majesty." And so, in the quiet of the night, Queen Zahori finally understood the mysterious figure's true nature. They were more than just two people sharing an intimacy. They were bound by a love that transcended everything, race, form, and expectations. The queen had found peace, not in the answers to her questions, but in the mysterious love that filled her heart. She no longer needed to understand everything. All she needed was the joy of the moments they shared, and the promise of a future filled with love, no matter what shape it took. They found no trace of the mysterious man. The night had swallowed him whole, and the guards returned empty-handed. The queen was left alone, trembling from the pain and shock of what had just occurred. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she clutched her stomach, fear and anger surging within her. The mysterious figure had attacked her, and she couldn't understand why. Her body ached, but the greater ache came from the unknown. Who was he, and why had he been tormenting her like this? As the days passed, the queen's health began to deteriorate. The blow to her belly had taken a toll, and she grew weaker by the day. She ordered the finest healers to attend to her, but they could only ease the pain, not cure the emotional and mental toll this man's sudden, violent appearance had caused. The palace whispers grew louder. What happened to the queen? Why did he strike her? The villagers, still in fear of her wrath, spoke in hushed tones, unsure if they could trust her anymore. Queen Zahori, however, was determined. She knew she could not let this mysterious figure slip away again. He had to be stopped. Her mind raced, calculating her next move. This time, she would be prepared. No more unpredictable visits, no more wondering who or what he was. As she plotted, her thoughts returned to her child. She couldn't bear the idea of raising the baby alone, and the uncertainty of the child's father hung heavily over her. But she would not let fear control her. The time had come to take action. She would find this man, whatever he was, and demand the answers she deserved. The queen stood firm, her resolve growing with each passing moment. This was not just about the man anymore. It was about her kingdom, her future, and the life she was carrying. And nothing, no one, was going to take that away from her. Expression turned serious, his eyes clouded with knowledge and concern. "There is something unnatural about this child," he said, his voice low and full of gravity. "The father you seek, he is not of this world." The queen's heart skipped a beat. She had never heard such a thing, but there was something in the priest's tone, something ancient, that sent a chill through her. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. The chief priest's gaze darkened, and he raised his staff again, the air thickening around them as he spoke. "The child you carry is the result of forces far beyond the natural realm. The mysterious man, your lover, is not a mortal man. He is an entity that roams between worlds, neither fully human nor fully spirit." The queen's mind reeled. An entity? What kind of being is he? Why has he come to me? The chief priest hesitated, choosing his words carefully. His nature is one of desire and fulfillment. His purpose is to satisfy the longing of those who are cursed by unquenchable needs. But this is not a blessing, Your Majesty. You have been marked by his touch, and now, you are bound to him. This child, the one you carry, is the key to an ancient prophecy. The queen felt a knot form in her stomach. A prophecy, she echoed, unsure of what she was hearing. Yes, the priest continued, his voice somber. The child you carry will be both a curse and a power. It will either destroy or elevate your kingdom, depending on how it is nurtured. And the man, the one who visits you in the night, he is not just a lover. He is a part of something greater, something older than your kingdom itself. The queen's eyes narrowed as she absorbed this revelation. You mean he planned this? He came here with a purpose? The chief priest nodded slowly. He did not come by chance, Your Majesty. He is bound to a greater force. And now, you are too. The question is, what will you do with the power you hold? Will you embrace it, or fight it? The queen's thoughts were a whirlwind of fear, confusion, and fury. How could she possibly know what to do? She had no answers, and the only thing she knew for certain was that she had to protect her child, no matter the cost. I will not be controlled, she declared, her voice fierce. I will find him. I will make him tell me everything. The chief priest's face softened, but there was an unreadable sadness in his eyes. Be careful, Your Majesty. The more you seek, the more you risk. Some things are not meant to be understood. With that, he turned and exited the room, leaving the queen alone to face the impossible task ahead. She had to find the father of her child, and she had to know the truth, whatever it was. Continued, his voice steady and commanding. You cannot hide forever. I see through your deception, and I will not allow you to harm the queen or her child. The tension in the room thickened as the mirror began to glow brighter, the reflection in it shifting. Henry, or rather the snake spirit possessing him, tried to pull away from the light, but it was too late. His true form started to emerge from the surface of the mirror, scales glistening, a long serpent-like body wrapping around his human disguise. The guards gasped in horror, their hands instinctively gripping their swords. The queen, despite the shock, stood resolute. What is this treachery? She demanded, her voice cold, her eyes locked on the serpent-like figure that had once appeared as her loyal soldier. The chief priest, unflinching, stepped forward. This is the snake spirit, Your Majesty. It has been hiding among you, using your soldier to deceive you. It is the very being that cursed your pregnancy and seeks to claim the throne through your child. The room was frozen in disbelief. The queen's heart sank as the reality of the situation hit her. How long? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. How long has this been going on? The chief priest's gaze never left the spirit. Since the moment you were touched by this spirit, Your Majesty. It has been manipulating your emotions, using your desires to bind you to it. The child you carry is not of pure blood, it is a vessel for the spirit's power, meant to bring chaos to your kingdom. Henry, now fully revealed as the snake spirit, hissed. His voice, no longer human, slithered through the air. You cannot stop me, Queen. The child will rise to claim what is rightfully mine. The throne is within my grasp, and you are merely a stepping stone. The queen's eyes burned with fury. Not while I live, she declared. I will not allow a cursed being to take my throne or harm my people. The chief priest nodded, his expression resolute. This will not be easy, Your Majesty. The spirit has a great deal of power, but it can be banished. You must choose, either the child or the throne. One cannot exist with the other. The queen's mind raced. The thought of losing her child tore at her, but she knew that the spirit's power was too dangerous for her kingdom. She had fought for her throne, and she would not let this curse take it away. I will not choose between my child and my kingdom, the queen said, her voice steady with a newfound strength. I will rid my kingdom of this spirit, and I will protect my child. With that, the battle for the throne, against not only the spirit but against fate itself, began. The chief priest raised his staff, and the air in the palace seemed to crackle with energy. The battle for the queen's future had only just begun, and the outcome would determine the destiny of the entire kingdom. Find a way to end this curse, Your Majesty, Henry said, his voice pleading. I never wanted this to happen. The snake spirit took control of me, manipulating my body and mind. I couldn't resist. I thought I could protect you and the kingdom, but now I see the truth. The spirit's grip is too strong, and it's using me to take everything. The room was still, with everyone watching in tense silence as Henry knelt before the queen, his eyes full of regret and fear. The chief priest stood at the ready, prepared to strike again if necessary, but his face reflected the gravity of the situation. The queen, her hands trembling, stepped forward. Tell me, Henry, she began, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. How can we rid the kingdom of this spirit? How can I protect my child and my throne without sacrificing either? Henry hesitated, looking up at the queen with a mix of admiration and guilt. There is a way, he said softly. But it will require me to face the spirit in its full form. The ritual that the chief priest began, it's only part of what's needed. The snake spirit needs to be confronted and banished by the one it has attached itself to. The queen's heart sank. You mean I have to do it, through you? She asked. Henry nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Your Majesty. Only by severing the connection between me and the spirit can you stop it from claiming the child and the throne. You must perform the final part of the ritual, but it will take great courage. The queen's mind raced. She had already fought so hard for her kingdom, and now she faced an even more daunting battle, one against a powerful spirit that had taken root in the very person she thought she could trust. She looked at Henry, who was once her most loyal soldier, now bound to a fate far darker than she could have imagined. I will do what I must, the queen said firmly, though doubt gnawed at her heart. But know this, Henry, if you betray me again, I will not hesitate to destroy you. This is your last chance. Henry nodded, his eyes filled with determination. I swear, Your Majesty, I will help you. I've already lost myself once. I won't let the spirit take anything else from us. The chief priest stepped forward, his eyes full of solemn respect for the queen's resolve. The ritual can be completed only under the moonlight, in the sacred temple of the ancients, he said. If you are ready, Your Majesty, we can begin immediately. The queen nodded without hesitation. Then let us begin. We have no time to lose. As the guards and maids quietly prepared for the journey to the temple, the queen felt a mix of fear and resolve. She had faced many challenges as a ruler, but none like this. The path ahead was uncertain, but she would fight to protect her child and her throne at all costs. The kingdom's future, her child's future, and the fate of those she loved rested on the choices she was about to make. The queen stood tall as the chaos settled around her. Her decision was final. Henry, despite his strange origins, was to remain in her life and the father of her child. The room buzzed with murmurs, but none dared challenge her authority. The chief priest reluctantly stepped back, releasing his hold on the energy that bound Henry to the snake spirit. In the following months, the queen gave birth to a beautiful son, Prince Aaron, who possessed an extraordinary ability. He could transform between human and snake at will. The kingdom was in awe of the child, who embodied both human beauty and the mystical power of the snake. The queen's family grew, with twins born, Prince Eric, who was fully a snake, and Princess Maya, fully human. Under the queen's reign, the kingdom prospered, but the mystery of Henry's past, and the duality of her children, would forever linger in the air. Yet, The queen's resolve remained unshaken, and her kingdom flourished, proving that sometimes the most unexpected alliances lead to the greatest triumphs.